Well, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. This is Barbara, and I'm serving as your host today. And also, Brother Martin and Sister Ellie said they would help with some of the reading of the slides today. I just want to welcome all our family and friends that are here. And also, if you might be listening to the recording or on the internet, we just want to welcome you too. And we invite everyone to go to the website, lunar-sabbath-day.com. It's a great source of information about the Sabbath, and all the evidence is based on Scripture. You'll even see a lot of historical evidence there also. Videos, articles, and on the events page, you can scroll down to the bottom and see when we meet, our times and dates. So we would like to have you come and fellowship with us. So today, we are ready to start our discussion about the original timekeeping system. And today's topic is the Crucifixion Date proves Saturday is not the Sabbath. So I kind of want to go through some, not just today, but some following Sabbath and new moon talks about how Passover proves the Sabbath. There's many ways that Passover proves the Sabbath on the lunar calendar. And I'm hearing a little bit of checking. Maybe I better go see what that is. I don't know what it is. Maybe would everybody mute your phone and your computer? That might help. Okay, we're going to go forward now. I am hearing something. Okay, the problem of the crucifixion date. This is proof Saturday is not the Sabbath. And I am hearing something from 918. I'm going to go and mute just a minute. 918 area code. That's what I'm hearing. Just a second. It's going to take me a minute. Sorry. If I can find it. Brother Joseph, can you mute your phone? Oh, there, I found it now. Just a second. Okay, so everybody be patient. We're on our way. Here we go. And so the Passover proves the Sabbath in so many ways, but this is another angle, another way to look at it. So you may not agree with everything, but we need to study and have an open mind. So the date of Messiah's crucifixion provides the single most overwhelming confirmation that the modern week cycles differently than the biblical week. So, of course, the crucifixion and all those cycles are different than the biblical week that we see in the heavens, but we're all on a Gregorian calendar here, so everybody thinks there's been a cycling 7-day week since creation. But anyways, okay, well, go ahead with this. Brother Martin, go ahead.
This, in turn, proves that Saturday is not the Bible Sabbath or Sunday, the true day of the resurrection. When this subject is fully understood, the truth of the biblical calendar is unassailably established.
The reason
and
the
Ellie?
facts on Daniel's timeline are important is because they hold the key to the single largest piece of evidence that the modern week has not cycled continuously and without interruption ever since creation.
Okay, so Daniel 9 contains the information needed to pinpoint the exact year of the Messiah's crucifixion. So we're going to be doing a timeline study today. Maybe you've learned different timelines. We're basically just showing when the crucifixion was and that it was the time of the Passover on the lunar-solar calendar. Brother Martin?
I pushed my button, but it was delaying. It is so precise and accurate that rabbinical tradition actually produces or pronounces a curse on anyone who would use it to calculate Messiah's coming, because it reveals that he has indeed come already.
Okay, so a sage has said, we hear things about the sages, but a sage has said, may the curse of heaven fall upon those who calculate the date of the advent of the Messiah and thus create political and social unrest among the people, because we're saying he came and maybe the Jewish scholars are saying he did not come yet. So here we go, Daniel 9, Ellie.
Daniel 9 declares, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the Most High. Know therefore that and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks.
Okay, so 70 weeks would be 70 times 7 days in each week, and that equals 490 days. So using the biblical principle that 1 day equals 1 year in prophecy, this passage predicts that from the command to restore and build Jerusalem, 490 years were determined for the Israelite people. And this prophecy was given to Daniel in the first year of Darius. Finding the year of the Messiah's death, then, is simply a matter of locating the date of the decree.
You want me to read that above too?
Yes, go ahead.
There are 4 events which can be taken as answering to the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem. These are the degrees of Cyrus for the rebuilding of the house of God, 536 BC, Ezra 1:1-4. 2. The degree of Darius for the prosecution of that work which had been hindered, 519 BC, Ezra 6:1-12. The degree of Anaxagoras to Ezra, 470 BC, and Ezra 7. The commission to Nehemiah from the same king in his 20th year, 444 BC, Nehemiah 2.
Okay, so there's 3 or 4 events that could be taken to the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem, but we're going to be showing 457 BC and some evidence for that. So the year 457 BC and its importance. Go ahead, Ellie.
Dating from the first 2 of these decrees, the 70th prophetic weeks, or 490 literal years, would fall many years short of reaching even to the Christian era. Besides this, these decrees had reference principally to the restoration of the temple and the temple worship of the Jews, not to the restoration of their civil state and polity, all of which must be included in the expression to restore and build Jerusalem.
Okay, so the decree of 457 BC, the date for the beginning of the 70 weeks prophetic time, or 490 years literal time, must be one of the last 2 decrees. Go ahead, Martin. I got something on my screen here. I can't.
Okay, the degree of 457 BC allowed more than any previous degree. It provided the Israelites with the means to restore their nation.
So I don't know how much you guys have studied this, but it's been a big study in the church I came from 25 years ago. But in most churches, they do a timeline. But, okay, in 457 BC, a decree was granted to Ezra by the Persian Emperor Artaxerxes Longimanus to go up to Jerusalem with as many of his people as were minded to go with him.
The commission granted him an unlimited amount of treasure to beautify the house of God, to procure offerings for its service, and to do whatever else might seem good to him. It empowered him to ordain laws, set magistrates and judges, and execute punishment, even unto death. In other words, to restore the Jewish state, civil and ecclesiastical, according to the law of God and the ancient custom of that people. Inspiration has seen fit to preserve this decree, and a full and accurate copy of it is given to Ezra, and I guess it's chapter 7. This decree is recorded not in Hebrew, like the rest of the book of Ezra, but in the official Chaldaic or Eastern Aramaic. Thus we are referred to the original document by virtue of which Ezra was authorized to restore and build Jerusalem.
Okay, so the 457 decree was the only one that gave authority for the Jews to govern, have judges, and all those things along with the decree. So it was a complete decree. So Nehemiah goes to Jerusalem. Here's another part of it.
13 years later, 444 BC, Nehemiah received permission from the same king to go to Jerusalem. Permission was granted to him personally, but there is no record of any additional directive. Therefore, therefore, of the 4 degrees, the only one which fits the parameters of Daniel 9:24 is the 3rd degree in 457 BC. It now becomes a simple math equation: 490 minus 457 plus 1 equals 34. 457 is subtracted from 490 because it is BC. 1 year must also be added because there was no 0 year. The last year of this 490 years time period was especially determined for the Israelites was AD 34. In AD 34, intense persecution drove the early Christians from Jerusalem, and the gospel was taken to the world.
Okay, so Daniel 9:26, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined.
Verse 26 of Daniel 9 refers to Messiah being cut off, or in other words, making a covenant. This is the end of Messiah's 3.5 years of public ministry, which began in the fall of AD 27. 3.5 years later, in the spring of AD 31, Messiah was crucified on Passover.
The reason these facts are important is because they hold the key to the single largest piece of evidence. The modern week has not cycled continuously and without interruption ever since creation. When the fact of luni-solar calendation are brought to AD 31, it is found that Passover, the 6th day of the biblical week, corresponds to Wednesday of the Julian week.
Okay, and then there's a calendar up here, a biblical calendar showing Passover is the 14th day of the month, and it's preparation day. It's the 6th day. And then, of course, AD 31 would put it on a Wednesday. And for those that keep Saturday Sabbath, this has been a very big challenge for them because they can't see AD 31 with a Friday.
Because the moon is
so predictable. Go ahead, honey. I was waiting for you, and I couldn't hear anything, so go ahead.
Well, because my screen didn't come up right away. Because the moon is predictable, it is possible to precisely calculate lunations thousands of years ago as well as years into the future. Scholars all agreed that the Hebrew month was lunar.
Okay, then there's a picture up here of the phases of the moon. It starts with the dark moon, and then the first quarter is half with the half circle, and then the full moon is all white, and the last quarter, the last half of the moon. So that's always been in the heavens, and we can go back and see where it was full moon day way back in the past and even to the future.
The month was a unit of time closely tied to the moon. The Hebrew word for month also meant moon. The reason for this connection between the month and the moon is that the beginning of a month was marked by a new moon. The moon was carefully observed by the people of Bible times.
Okay, and the Hebrew month was lunar, beginning with the evening on which the crescent moon appeared, and the first day of the month was called the new moon. That was one quote. There's several quotes here. And the first day of the lunar month was observed as a holy day. The religious observance of the day of the new moon may plainly be regarded as the consecration of a natural division of time. These are some of the quotes.
The week of 7 days is connected with the lunar month of which it is, approximately a fourth. Since biblical times, the months and the years of the Jewish calendar have been established by the cycles of the moon and the sun. The traditional law prescribes that the months shall follow closely in the course of the moon. In the early times of our history, the solution was found by the following practical procedure. The beginnings of the months were determined by direct observation of the new moon.
Okay.
The United States Naval Observatory, USNO, provides the date and time for the conjunction closest to the spring equinox as immediately following. The principle of luni-solar calendation applied to AD 31 established Thursday, April 12th as New Moon Day. Abid 1, Leviticus 23:5, provides the date for Passover. Abid 14, when 13 days are added to Thursday. April 12th, Passover falls on Wednesday, April 25th.
Okay, so there's an AD April 31 calendar here showing full moon day on a Gregorian calendar on a Wednesday. But, of course, on the Father's calendar, it's the 14th, where it's always preparation day, and it's always the 6th day of the month. So this presents a problem to Saturday keepers because we've always taught that that's how you teach Sabbath, is you show when Passover, when Yeshua was crucified, he rested in the grave on Sabbath and rose on Sunday. And so that's what we were taught, and that's how we taught people about Sabbath. But here's a big dilemma. If Passover was in the middle of the week on a Gregorian Wednesday, which didn't even exist at that time, the church has a hard time proving their dates. So the following charts were compiled with information from the USNO for AD 31, and that's the United States Naval Observatory. So March AD 31, the phases of the moon were on the 5th, it was a quarter, the 12th full moon, the 20th a quarter, the 27th full moon. So the conjunction or black moon occurred on March 11th. So, and I have something over here, brother. Go ahead and read that. I've got something on my screen.
The conjunction or black moon occurred on March 11th. This made Passover too early for the barley harvest to be ready for the wave sheaf offering on Abid 16. Consequently, the 13th month, Bidar, was intercalculated to bring the lunar year back into alignment with the solar year.
Okay, so it wasn't in March that year. So the 14th of Nisan thus fell on April 25th, a Julian Wednesday, which we know didn't exist at that time. So in the key at the bottom of the chart, the USNO confirms that the full moon appeared on April 25. And so the phases go along with that. So theologians and scholars and astronomers have long wrestled with this contradiction. And the Worldwide Church of God solved it by pointing to the sign of Jonah, claiming that Messiah was crucified on the fourth day of the week and resurrected a complete 72 hours later. Roman Catholics and most other Protestants have simply placed the crucifixion in another year, such as AD 33 or AD 34, where you can find a Gregorian Friday and a Gregorian Saturday that would fit with full moon. Here's about Sir Isaac Newton and what he thought, Ellie.
Okay, Sir Isaac Newton, dismissing Julian years that did not align Friday with Abib 14, stated, the years 31 and 35 are excluded because in them the Passion cannot fall on a Friday without making it 3 days after the full moon or 4 days before it. Errors so erroneous that they would be very conspicuous in the heavens to every vulgar eye. Newton had earlier admitted this assumption. I take it for granted that the Passion was on Friday, the 14th day of Nisan, the great feast of the Passover on Saturday, and the 15th of Nisan, and the resurrection on the day following.
So he believed 14th was the Passover, the 15th, the first day of unleavened bread, and the 16th was waste sheaf, first fruit.
For the same reason, Oswald Gerhardt rejected AD 31 as the year of the crucifixion, and 31 and 14, Nisan, came either on Wednesday, April 25th, or on Thursday, April 26th, but not on a Friday, 7. F. Ostermer, Karl Schultz concurred. I now come to the year 31 AD, when the new moon astronomical conjunction for the Nisan new light came on April 10th, after 28 hours on the eve of April 11th. At this time of the year, every new light is quite easily seen in Jerusalem. Nisan equals April 12th, 14th Nisan, 12th, 14 Nisan, April 25th. Wednesday, 15 Nisan equals April 26th, Thursday.
Okay, so these two guys are agreeing with AD 31. And so the calendar year for 31 in Israel, we show March here and April, and the principles of the lunar-solar calendation applied to AD 31. And when we know in Leviticus 23, it tells us the date of the Passover. It's the 14th of the month. So when you know what New Moon Day is and you add 13 days, it shows Passover on a Gregorian calendar on the 25th. But, okay, we know there wasn't a Gregorian calendar at that time. If you're new to the lunar Sabbath, we'll be going over that a little bit. So, but a lot of other churches, like Roman Catholics or many Protestants, have put the crucifixion year on AD 33, and here is why. Because they want a Friday and Saturday and Sunday weekend. So that is why they placed it in another year.
According to the U.S. Navy
Whose turn
Observatory,
is it?
My turn.
Go ahead. Sorry for interrupting.
According to the U.S. Navy Observatory, USNO, the vernal equinox in 31 AD fell on Friday, March the 23rd at 3 a.m. Greenwich time. It says see Appendix H. The full moon after the date of the equinox was Tuesday, March the 27th at 11 a.m., and the new moon fell on Tuesday, April the 10th at noon in Greenwich time. Note that the USNO new moon and the biblical new moon differ in 3 days. The secular science calls new moon when the moon is dark and invisible. In the first 2 days after new moon, the young crescent moon appears very low in the western sky after sunset and sets shortly after sunset. The sighting of the lunar crescent within 1 day of new moon is usually difficult. The biblical new moon is when the first sliver of the moon is sighted within a couple of days after the secular one. Therefore, on Thursday, April the 12th, 31 A.D., the first month of the new biblical year, Rosh Hashanah, became given the barley, was Aviv. That's in Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. Shabbat HaGadol, the great Sabbath, was on Saturday, April 21st, according to Leviticus 23, verse 5. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between the evenings, was the Passover, which leads us to Wednesday, April 25th, 31 A.D. Full moon, Passover is always on a full moon, as the day of the crucifixion of Yeshua, and Saturday, April the 28th, 31 A.D., the day of his resurrection. Below is the chart of the events for 31 A.D.
Okay, and this is a quote, and so, we don't always agree with everything in there, but we're going forward here.
The astronomers made a mistake, but it was not in their calculations. Rather, it was in their assumption that the sixth day of the biblical week was identical to Friday of the modern week. Sometimes in an attempt to disprove this fact, the USNO will be quoted saying that it's not possible to know for sure when Passover occurred so many years ago. This must be understood in the context that the USNO is a government entity. As such, it legally cannot involve itself in religious squabbles over the interpretation of its data. Data is what it is, and the USNO maintains that it is extremely accurate. The USNO's refusal to involve itself in sectarian battle should not be interpreted as admission that its calculations are wrong, rather that the USNO is merely refusing to apply a religious interpretation as constitution.
Okay. We're hearing you, Jamie. I'm trying to find your phone to mute it.
Oh, it's been muted on my side.
Mute your computer. I'm trying to find you.
Sorry.
Talking to your baby. Okay. All right. Thank you, brother. We'll go forward now. I think we're okay. I still couldn't find you. You have to mute yourself again. Okay, there, I did find it. Okay. Okay, patience, everybody. We're almost done. This is right at the end here. So, go ahead, Ellie.
John, verse 19, verse 31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day, for that Sabbath day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. John chapter 19, verse 31 states that Messiah was crucified on the preparation. The 14th of every lunar month is always the 6th day of the week. The preparation day just before the 7th day Sabbath. The prophecies of Daniel pinpoint AD 31 as the only possible year of the crucifixion. The predictability of lunar movement allows calculations which reveal an astonishing truth. Messiah was crucified on the 6th day of the biblical week, a Julian Wednesday.
which we know there's no Julian Wednesday, and that's what we're going to talk about now. When was Yeshua crucified? Friday or Wednesday? Well, the answer is neither one, because those days did not exist at that time.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This text, John 13:31, is highly significant. It establishes that the crucifixion occurred on the 6th day of the week. The Jews did not name their weekdays. They numbered them. The only 2 days of the week that were named were the 6th day, the preparation, and the 7th day, Sabbath. When it is remembered that the Julian week at the time of Messiah's death was an 8-day week, the evidence is overwhelming. The biblical week and the modern week do not align. Sunday is, therefore, not the true day of Messiah's resurrection, and Saturday is not the genuine 7th-day Sabbath.
And I put a couple calendars up here. The Roman Julian calendar that was around at the time of Yeshua had an 8-day week, and it was lettered A through H. And it wasn't until 321 that the Constantine changed the order of the weeks when they were started to be named after the planetary gods. And Saturn's day was day 1, and Sunday was day 2, and he moved the order and put Saturday on the end so that there would be a 7th day for the Jewish people. So here we are at the end. The prophecies of Daniel pinpoint AD 31 as the only possible year for the crucifixion. Okay, I'm just, whoa, my screen went black. Let's done this one other time. Okay, so we're going to close for discussion, and I hope this is helpful to those that are watching, but I guess, does anybody have a comment that can go on the recording? And then, if not, I'm going to go ahead and close the recording. Okay, everybody stay around. We're going to have discussion, and I hope if you're listening to the recording that you will join us so that you can get in on the discussions, because we do have some great discussion, and I'm very thankful for each person being able to